is also a sponsor of this event. I just happen to be a big fan of most of the titles that they release, and that's how I found out about this game. This game is a 2D platformer with a lot of retro game shout-outs, and I would like to introduce my co-commentators now.
Okay, I'm the Sid, and I'm literally waving to no one.
I'm Pink Pajamas.
And we have a very special guest here.
Hello, I'm Daniel from Mad Gear Games. I'm developer of this game, and I did programming, music, and sound. And we are gonna do also a giveaway on Twitter, Mad Gear Games. So you can check that and maybe try to find nodes to retro games.
Yeah, like I said, this game has a lot of retro game shouts. So see how many you can find during this run. So we're going to be playing on hard difficulty. The main differences with hard difficulty over the other difficulties is you take a lot more damage, such that everything is either a 1 to 2 hit kill, and enemies have a lot more health. So we will need a lot more upgrades to be able to fight bosses. And that's mostly it. I'll start and head to the character select screen. So in this game, you can pick 1 out of 4 characters. There's also a local co-op mode that allows you to play up to 4 players. And for this run, we're going to be going with Hanako because her special ability is she can glide, while the others have some cool abilities, but they're mostly situational at best, while Hanako's glide ability is useful almost all the time. So I'm gonna select her, and the time will start when I hit accept. So to start the game, and here we go. 3, 2, 1, and start.
Okay, so as he mentioned, all these characters have different abilities. One of them can climb walls, one of them can climb... let me make sure I'm not lying here. One can transform into enemies, one can climb walls, and one can climb ropes. Sorry, I'm only familiar with our speedrunning friend. So, with this game, we have it's very much movement like Mega Man X and Mega Man Zero. It feels a little more like Zero than X. Because the movement feels just a little bit more smoother, and there's not really a lot of air options. But we have a slide that's basically our dash function. We want to use that and jump out of it just like we would in Mega Man games to keep that momentum. But further, we can carry that momentum into a glide so that we want to stay in the air as much as possible. Sliding on the ground can be dangerous, though, because if we touch an enemy or a treasure chest, we end up getting bounced back. And it keeps us from getting that momentum. We don't take damage, but it just slows us down. So if we get out of the air, we're in a pretty bad position because we have very few options to get back in the air. This
Also,
section...
there was a kind of a cutscene skip that happened earlier in that cutscene where he dive kicked through it.
Yeah, you're supposed to land on that tree, but all he did was hold right a little bit and dodge it. This moon section is usually somewhat simple. He just... overshot where he wanted to land, so it put him in kind of a bad position. Otherwise he would have been able to make both those cycles without getting stoned by the moon. A little bit tight here on 1 life, but there are plenty of 1-ups coming up, and in this stage hopefully he'll get 1 or 2, because these multi-parted enemies we're going to use orbs on, which if you're familiar with any shoot 'em ups, they basically clear the entire screen, but they'll just annihilate everything in their path. We need that. We need to kill these enemies for money, really, but we can also get those orbs. We can get lives. So it all depends on how lucky we get. Normally we would take a death in here or take some damage, but we got to be very careful with our low life count right now. Now that we've gotten an extra couple from one of these enemies, we're in a pretty decent position. But we still want about 10,000 after the end of this stage. So we're doing pretty decent. Unfortunately, we have to slow down a lot because of those unfortunate deaths and having orbs kind of be in a weird position. You can call them bombs, but there's actually another bomb item in the game, so...
Right. So this very last segmented enemy, we're going to use our last orb on to try and get as much money as possible. We're looking to try and get to the 10,000 mark. Looks like we didn't quite get there.
Yeah, we still have 1-3 to get there, and I think we're like short 200. As you notice, at the end of each stage, there's a mirror that pops up and says 500 and shows the character's face. That actually is part of the co-op mode, but it gives us free money, so we love it. So no matter what happens in this stage, we will have 10,000. There was a nice cutscene skip that we had unfortunately glazed over by him staying in the air when Tengu came by and set the forest on fire. We actually skipped that. Was that something the developers had intended when you guys were putting the game together?
No, that was actually a coincidence. I was surprised the first time I saw it, but I thought, wow, that's nice for speedrunners.
Yeah, it's one of those like, I didn't mean to do that, but I did, right? Right? So Tengu is very much like Storm Eagle from Mega Man X. He can either fly off screen and make our lives miserable, or he can hang still. Looks like he's decided to just float around and make a mockery of this boss fight, but Green's handling it fairly well. This boss can be pretty trolly, especially because you don't have very many backup options early on, since we barely get enough orbs.
Yeah, a lot of the early game damage is based off of the orbs, and through the shopping, he had to get the orb upgrades as well as buying orbs. And once he finished that boss, he's going into like World 2, and by going into World 2, you get the hook shot.
Yeah, grappling hook shot. And it's another neat item in the game. Like I was mentioning before, we want to keep our speed from sliding, so we jump out of that and go into a glide. The grappling hook helps facilitate this by whenever we grab something, it gives us a double jump, basically puts us a little bit above the platform as if we had done a double jump, but it also gives us an additional double jump. And that combined with one of the other features of the game, a dive kick, which allows us to bounce off enemies and then get our double jump replenished. We have plenty of options to stay in the air, so that's how Green has been able to stay floating for so long. He's been using all the mechanics the devs gave to players to keep their movement options open and fast. We have a short mini boss here real quick. Should take 3 orbs and a couple of swipes. He's pretty consistent. And there he goes. So is there any reason, when you guys were playtesting or making the game, what was it that made you decide to basically give all the movement options back, like once you dive, kick, or grapple, rather than just being like, well, that's it, you've got one double jump?
Yeah, well, you are controlling like a ninja, no? So you are supposed to have a lot of mobility and capabilities to stay in the air. We wanted that staying in the air feels good. So yeah, if you do the dive kick or you do the hook, then you get the second jump again. Also, if you get damage, you get the second jump. We just wanted to make it feel good and that you have control in the air.
Yeah, that definitely is a good reason. It makes you feel like a ninja to just be able to have the freedom of movement and not really feel like you're bogged down by anything. So here we're grabbing a little bit of money. It puts us in a kind of a dicey position. Like I mentioned before, we get knocked back when we slide into enemies, but Green got out of it just fine. We're buying a couple more orbs. I did mention that we needed orbs. You have to actually buy the upgrades for 4,000 apiece, and then the orbs themselves cost 1,000. Unfortunately, we don't get free orbs every time we upgrade. So that's why our money is a little bit tighter than it could be. We have an enemy rush wave here, just we're trying to kill everything as fast as possible so we have time for a donation or two.
Well, all right then. We've got $250 from an anonymous donor who says, "Hello GDQ, I love your streams, but I'm always so busy I can only watch my favorite runs on the Twitch replay thingy. Thanks for everything you do. Love you lots. Lesson 3. Please never stop."
Okay, so the Tanuki boss here can hang out in place, which it looks like he wanted to. Sometimes he can slash, so we got a pretty decent pattern. Normally you can just use all 4 orbs at once, but Green kind of delayed it just to make sure that he got a faster kill rather than getting a slow, fast kill. But now, here's the bomb item I was referring to. This stage is a very vertical stage. This item is actually very important. You have 2 sub-items, a kunai and a bomb. We need the bomb to blow up certain blocks that are in our way. We just have to. And we have to use under a certain amount of items going into the second loop. This game actually has 2 loops. So we need to pay close attention to it. That's part of the reason why we commentators are commentating instead of Green doing it himself, so we can keep track of it. We'll talk specifically about why he has to do things the way he does, but that's part of the reason why it kind of gets a little difficult. We don't have the ability to use the sub-items. Unfortunately, they're not very powerful, or I guess rather fortunately, they're not very powerful on their own, so even if we could use them in bad situations, they really don't make a massive amount of difference until you power them up. So I think we have a second for a donation here, since it's a nice vertical stage.
All right, we've got that $10 donation from Ozzy Pants from earlier, who says, here's another donation as promised for everyone saying, train. I can't wait to see that RE3 run.
So I've been noticing a lot of Japanese yokai. What kind of led you to have this sort of Japanese yokai aesthetic?
Yeah, we are 4 people in the core team in Mad Gear Games, and we all come from Spain, but then we went all kind of directions in the world. And Miguel is in Japan, and we all like Japan a lot, so we decided to do kind of a tribute to Japanese culture with this game.
Yeah, the aesthetic is really nice, and a lot of the storytelling that I've been noticing throughout has not been any dialogue, it's been a lot of visual storytelling. Was there any particular reason you guys decided to go that route, or was it just something you decided to experiment on and kept going with?
Yeah, it was kind of, we wanted to experiment. To be frank, if we would do a new game, we wouldn't do the same again. It's kind of tricky because you want to express stuff through visuals alone, but it's a kind of a double-edged sword. There's good things that people can interpret the story and what's happening in their own way, so it's interesting to see how different people react to the same things in different ways and interpret in a different way. But then also at the same time, we've heard that yeah, lots of people really want to know what exactly is going on. So yeah, I guess it was very interesting, but we wouldn't do it again.
So we're on an auto-scroller. Right now, there's not much we can do. It's just avoid dying. We come into this stage with 1 orb. So I mean, we do have a boss at the end. As normally, you'd think, well, why didn't he get max orbs? What's up? They were the devs were kind enough to give us plenty of orbs in this stage to refill. So not only can we kind of stock up on money while we're going through the stage, but we can also stock up on orbs. As long as we don't accidentally use one or get hit in such a way that we can't pick up one of them, we'll exit into the boss fight with all of our orbs. And the boss fight should actually go fairly quick once we get there, because the boss does a set attack pattern, so we can basically set up for a quick kill as long as we, and it's fairly simple to make sure. It's one of the few bosses where an orb kill is pretty much guaranteed. We don't have to worry about much.
And thankfully it is guaranteed, because the killing of the boss is actually cycle based. So you just go into the corner and then throw out all of the orbs. So the dragon in the middle, once it hits the center of the screen, that's actually the end of the cycle, but we can very consistently get a 1 cycle.
Yeah, if we didn't, we'd also have to avoid the dragon as well, because he has a hurt box until he gets back to the center and the boss fight's over. That's part of the reason why you saw him lag a little bit or go around the dragon to get the money instead of just going right through him.
Also, you'll notice that the sword slashes have changed to red. By upgrading the sword, you actually get different color changes. And It's going to end with Rainbow. That's when you know we have the max sword. And here we just got the charged sword, which is kind of like a Mega Man Buster, but it pierces instead.
Yeah, it's like an upgraded Mega Man Buster, honestly. I wish the Mega Man Buster would pierce instead of just dying on the first thing it hits. It pierces through, and it seems like in some cases it can multi-hit. It's really hard to tell since we don't have the sword upgraded all the way to the point where it could kill stuff easily, but it does enough work that it makes our lives a lot easier. So we definitely want to use it when we have a chance. It's very good on bosses too, where there's any sort of way that we can multi-hit them. So we have another horizontal segment. This game has a very good flow to it, where in the first loop that we're getting close to being done with very much teaches you, okay, we have these nice horizontal segments, we have these nice vertical segments, and then bam, we have a horizontal vertical segment. So now we're going to take full advantage of our double jumps, the dash speed, the additional jumps we get back from diving or grappling hooking. So this whole stage, it goes really smooth. It's gonna be kind of interesting to see the second loop, because this stage gets really nasty, but this has got to be one of the most rewarding stages to watch, honestly. It just shows off the movement of the game so good. I just love it.
Being able to just immediately jump after using the grappling hook and keeping your dash speed just feels real nice.
Yep. So we have now. So we went horizontal. Now we went vertical, horizontal. Now we're gonna go straight vertical. So we have if we have a donation, I think we have a time for one or two.
All right. We've got $200 from Bryanger, who says, "Your borders are merely a construct. I prefer to think of myself as a doctor of the world."
So yeah, let's see here.
Getting to the final boss of the first loop, which is kind of like the multi-part alien thing.
Yeah, that alien that we killed really quick as a mini boss, that it was like, yep, see, that's how bosses are supposed to die. We're actually going to fight upwards of 5 of them. Hopefully we're going to fight 4 or 5 of them. The boss has a really unique thing where it can spawn anywhere between 1 to 5 of those aliens. We want to see a 3, 4, or 5 pattern. 3 is acceptable. 1 and 2 is why you do this game, and 4 and 5 are great. Thank you. We can quickly kill this boss and get on with our lives.
Right, each alien you can hit individually, and they all share the same health bar. So he's just reset there because he got the 2, trying to hit the 3, 4, 5.
So the way that it functions is it spits out any pattern, and they're non-repeating until, I would assume, until you've gone the full loop. Even Green hasn't gone the full loop of fighting each one of the 5, but that was much quicker, because he would have had to sit through 2's entire attack pattern and then risk getting a 1 or a 3 instead of a 4 and a 5. So it just works out better to do it that way. It's kind of a risky move because you could end up getting a 1 or a 2 again, but when it's 3 out of 5, you might as well just take the risk for the 3 out of 5. And that's the final boss showing up and turning us to stone. What a nice guy. This is why we have to do a second loop. Because now our body is stuck on the top of Mount Fuji, and we gotta get back up there and get it. So we're kind enough to be revived by priest, I guess. Here's our visual storytelling. We're not being told exactly what it is. We're let to interpret, which is great. And each one of these statues actually represents each one of the characters. So it's always kind of fun to play through and then see which one is which.
Right, so now you'll notice that there's going to be a tint at the very front of each stage. During the second loop on every stage, there's going to be some kind of effect that's going on through the stage, like extra gravity, extra jump speed, or extra, extra speed. Yeah, extra speed.
That's actually why the items were so important. We wanted to use a certain amount of items to move the RNG forward to always get the speed boost, and in some cases the moon jump. Mostly what we're aiming for is a 25% speed increase, and Dan, from what I understand, you guys worked with some of the speedrunners to figure out how to make it so that they could just kind of manipulate that through gameplay so that we could always have that 25% speed boost instead of losing a chunk of time at the end, right?
Yes, so when we were first watching like some speedrunners like Autoplus, Tina, and GreenZSaber, I didn't know, but it seems reproducibility is very important for speedrunners. So this kind of second loop where the tint it's random and the speed is random was very annoying for them. So we decided to do something about it and give the possibility that they have using items. They can choose kind of the RNG, so they can rotate through the different possibilities, and just counting items they can know which one is going to happen so that they can have the constant speed boost.
Yeah, and as Pink had mentioned with the actual tint on the stage, you had mentioned in one of the practice sessions that that's actually how you were able to know, whenever you mess with the RNG, you set it up so that color tint would tell you that, oh yes, I am moving it forward, right? That's part of the reason why speedrunners can use it to tell if they're on the right thing, because the color changes depending on what the RNG is.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was testing this new thing for speedrunners myself, I would know if everything's working correctly, if I get the right tints. So I would do photos to know okay, this worked out. Now we can move forward.
Yeah, Green was nice enough to give us a little spreadsheet that has some colors listed. So he knows where he is, we know where he is. But for the most part, you can tell the game is sped up incredibly because of this speed boost. We can lose the manipulation if we accidentally use too many items or die. Hopefully neither will happen. There is a way to get back on it as long as we don't get too far off. We really want to keep that speed boost for the auto-scroller. The rest of this it's nice, the speed bonus, but it's not super detrimental. But unfortunately, since the auto-scroller is 3-3, we kind of have to knuckle down, and our only option is really the sword, because we need to keep our orbs for boss fights, and we can't use any items pretty much, or else we'll push the RNG forward. Actually, one of the things you have to route in is the sword upgrades. They also factor into it as well. So even though he has the money to arguably just buy all the sword upgrades right now, it would move the RNG forward in such a way that he would be off of his cycle. So it's better to just buy him where he intended to, even though he has a lot of money right now.
And if you notice, a lot of the objects and enemies have this sort of moonlight effect to them. That's a consequence of the second loop. And I believe also hard mode.
I think moonlighting isn't tied to hard mode. Is that the case, Dan?
It is. It only appears in hard.
Oh, okay. So the moonlight enemies are buffed enemies. They're the ones that are black with a white aura. They all kind of have a weakness to a specific thing, whether it be an item, the charged buster sword, dive kicks, regular slashes, the bomb, mini item, orbs, whatever. The parasols particularly are weak to the dive kick, so we want to abuse it as much as possible. This stage it's the same enemy rush. If we get an orb, it can speed things up a little bit, but we probably won't get one. We won't have a boss fight after this, so we have a second for a donation or two.
All right, we've got a haiku coming in from 5 Drinks and 2 1 for $5. He says, "A train's rolling through. $5 a ticket. Let's go. It's for a great cause."
Yeah, I'm missing the audience claps right now. It hurts.
It is just too beautiful.
So we're just in the middle of a cutscene. If you have one more, go ahead.
All right, $50 from Lady Quixote, who says, I'm very happy to be able to help support such a great cause as Doctors Without Borders. I wanted to give a shout out to everybody who's been able to help support the stream here, whether it's by donating directly, subscribing to the Twitch channel, or just watching the great runs. And I agree with that entirely.
Yep. So we're going back into the vertical stages. If you really, for me, when I started learning this and was shown it initially, because Green was asking me to do commentary for it, I think there's a really good break of flow in this game, switching between horizontal, vertical, and like I said, with some of the later stages where it's kind of both. What kind of led you, the dev team, to split up between horizontal, vertical, and like a combination of the both, rather than just sticking to one type of play style like vertical or horizontal, Dan?
Yeah, well, when we did the first stage, we decided to do like only horizontal, and then we thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have some change in the next world and maybe go up? And then we tried, and we had the grappling hook, and with the grappling hook, it really feels very good if you just keep going up. So that made that we had now vertical stages. And then we were reaching the end. The objective is to climb Mount Fuji. And then we thought, okay, maybe we could go first like diagonally up, and then the last part go vertical. So that's why we have also the diagonal stage.
Yeah, it seems like there's a very good balance between the two. Finally, as somebody that's played Mega Man X and Zero games, that sometimes they focus too much on one direction, horizontal or vertical. It can work towards the game, but I think in this game you guys took full advantage of doing that, with kind of changing up the gameplay and keeping it fresh without letting it. Okay, so I'm a little bit behind, but this yellow tint and white clouds is actually what we're looking for on the auto scroller. This is going to give us that 25% speed up, so we can lose the RNG at this point, and it really doesn't matter as long as he doesn't game over. I'd be surprised if that happened at this point, with the amount of lives he has. This stage is much more difficult without the cloud. Actually, why is it, since I'm asking about stage design, why did you guys decide to go with an auto-scroller after all of that nice, fast-paced horizontal and vertical stuff?
So yeah, we had the vertical, we had the horizontal, and then we kind of wanted to do like bonus stage. So we thought it would be nice if you can like fly in a cloud. So that's why the first part, the first loop, this stage is quite easy, and you can just collect coins and orbs. But then when we did the second loop, we thought, it adds more variety and it makes more difficult for the second loop. So let's just keep the cloud this time.
That's very interesting, yeah, because taking the cloud away makes this plenty difficult, makes it an actual challenge, but it feels like the special worlds from Super Mario World, really, like Radical and all those other ones that you get after you go to Star World. It's kind of the feeling I got.
I have to say, like, the second loop thing is actually kind of neat, the way that you did it, by having the first loop be kind of teaching you how to play the game, and then the second loop being significantly harder, adding some of these newer things to throw you off to make sure that you know how to play the game. What kind of led you to actually go with a second loop?
So this is I actually didn't tell you this before, so you're gonna be surprised now. When we first started with the game, we wanted to do something that changes every time you play, but not in a procedural way. So we implemented a kind of weather system, we called at that time, that made the game from the beginning, when you play, it would play different every time. So we started to do some rains and thunders, and then we would do a tint for the screen and change the parameters like speed, gravity, etc. And we would have that as the default game. Then we felt, we are doing such a beautiful world and we are just coloring on top of it directly. It doesn't feel so nice. So we decided to not use it. And then we did the game, and then we thought, actually we could use it as a second loop thing, because this is like a hero's journey thing, and the hero's journey you also have the death and resurrection. So we have kind of this thing as well with the end of the first loop and beginning of second loop.
Oh, that definitely fits in with the basics of film, for sure, with a hero's journey. I didn't even really think about that. Most people just tell the stories kind of off a whim. I'm like, did I hear some of the hero's journey? some film references. What? So that's very interesting. I think normally, like, people, speedrunners specifically, were like, auto-scroller, it's the worst. But I think it breaks up the gameplay very good, gives us that bonus stuff. And then I could definitely see where Pink's coming from, where the first loop is like a very long introduction stage, but it introduces so many different things and mechanics to let you get similar with it. It doesn't even really feel like it. And then loop 2 is where you add in all the real difficulty stuff. You're used to, now you have full control of the movement, you're 100% familiar with it. Now we're gonna start throwing moonbeams at you, enemies that are just chucking relentless amounts of icicles at you, and you know, any one stop can turn into 3 lives real quick.
Yeah, whenever it comes to game design, the best tutorial is the one that you never notice.
Yeah, I'd say that Mega Man X, all the Mega Man X's have that, and even Zeros too. They have the tutorial, but you can tell they're a tutorial. And this one, it's an extended tutorial that just does not feel like a tutorial at all. It's very, very well balanced. So we're gonna have one more fight with the Tanuki, and we're gonna do a little bit of vertical climbing. So I think this is gonna be our last chance to fit in a few donations.
All right. tinahacks 134s gives $25, says had to donate during Kemono Heroes. Amazing game with amazing devs and the best runner GDQ could hope for. Donation goes to Runner's Choice.
Much agreed.
And $5 from Anonymous, who says, I do like haikus. Let's all donate $5. Hop aboard the train.
Choo choo. So, do you have one more, or you want me to wrap this game up?
I think we can call it here. Just.
Oh, okay.
All right.
So we got our rematch with the Tanuki, and this kind of like the visual storytelling I was leaning towards. You see how the statue is basically the Tanuki missing an arm, and notice the samurai ghost Tanuki has his arm is covered, but you don't ever see it. So it's basically, a lot of these have already been, I mean, with your own interpretation, but it's like, oh, he's been stoned by the moon, and all these people are suffering from it, so we've got to free him from this curse. And they do. I think you guys did a really good job of telling the story, even though it may not be as direct as you wanted. It does a very good job, and I think anything that you can play the game and you feel like you're in speedrunner mode without losing anything. So now we got our body back. Unfortunately, we can't quick kill this boss quite like we could with the aliens, which were able to be multi-damaged if there's more than one on screen. We just have to survive his first set of 3 beams attack, which is set, and then try and get as much damage with the orbs as possible, and then just use charged buster shots basically to do the rest of the damage. The reason the sword is rainbow, like we alluded to earlier, is actually the upgrade. I don't know, maybe you could consider that a retro reference with the rainbow sword being Kemono's best weapon. What am I? I've been playing too much Remake. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me.
Ooh, we immediately got the 5 pattern, which is the best pattern.
Yeah, this makes it very easy for him to stay up there and keep hitting the boss with very little risk of being hit. 4 is very good too. He can decently keep a bounce. 3 isn't too bad, but as you can tell, it kind of goes off to the side, so it doesn't put him in a very good position for the first portion to bounce. But yeah, this fight's going fairly well, actually. The moon can fall, but I don't think Green even saw it casually. If you let this boss go on too long, it'll just crush you on the moon, and that's it. It's starting to fall, but we shouldn't be an issue. And that's it.
Woohoo!
All right.
What was the time?
Oh, you didn't call time.
Yeah, that was time.
Okay.
Well, it's time now.
It's time now. That was actually really good. The Tanuki boss in particular, the second time, was pretty much perfect.
So was time supposed to be at last hit on the boss?
Correct.
All right,
Yeah.
then that would have been a 32-13.
Whoa.
Oh wow, that's actually a new world record. Because
Yeah.
my PB is 32:50 on speedrun.com.
Yep. Nice.
Wow, congratulations.
Whoa!
Yeah, he had a really good one going last night, and his computer decided that power was not something it needed, unfortunately. But all the better because we got to get that world record here instead of last night.
I was a little bit scared, if I may say, at the beginning when we lost the lives against the moon rays. I was like, oh my god, 0 lives, this is so bad. But I'm happy it worked out.
Yeah, I
last night
just
was
want to
a
add a
couple
little
of
bit of
dicey
tension.
ones.
Just want to add a little bit of tension.
So this little scene on the bridge here gives you an opportunity to collect money. This game actually has a new game plus mode, so you can play through with whatever character you want and then go through again with the other ones. So there's plenty of incentive, and it's a little easier for you to start up with another character.
Alright, so I'd like to give a shout out again to NIS America. Without them, we would not be here, and this game probably wouldn't have come out so soon. And especially Laura from NIS America, she hooked me up with a key, and that's how I got to play this. And also shout outs to the other runners of this game, tinahacks who donated earlier, and Hanta, a Japanese runner. They still don't have the update for this game that allows them to do the RNG manip, but hopefully they'll get it soon so they can actually do this too. And finally, my commentators, Pink Pajamas, Sid, and Dan, thank you for being here. And do you have any shout outs of your own, Dan?
Oh yes, I wanted to shout out to the other members of the Mad Gear core team. So Juanito, JJ, and Miguel, which are probably watching right now. Thanks for everything, guys. I'm happy we did this game. Also, thanks to GreenZSaber for playing. It has been a pleasure to be here. Also for Pink Pajamas and Sid for commenting. Yeah, it was a really nice experience.
Thank you for letting me do some of the commentary.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. This game is is wonderful to watch, and I couldn't help but want to hype it up.
All right, and that about wraps it up for us. So take it to the next game and enjoy the marathon, everybody.
All right, thank you once again to our runner, GreenZSaber, and his team for putting on a great show. Thanks to the developer for stopping in, and that was a thoroughly enjoyable run. I hope everybody else had an amazing time with that. Once again, my name is DoctorBobtastic. I'll be hosting for the next few games. And coming up, we've got Kosoku Kaitenzushi, which, if I'm not going to spoil this for you, but if you have not seen this game, this is something you need to see. It will literally blow your mind. All right. We've got $25 from Frice, who says, "Come on, ride the $5 train. Hey, ride it. Choo choo." I could try to sing that one. Come on, ride the $5 train. Hey, ride it. Choo choo. All right. We've got several donations here with no comment, but they're very appreciated. $30 here from Some Kinda. We've got a $25 donation from Matt188, so thank you for that. And of course, just a $10 anonymous donation. You don't have to put your name in. That's not required. We appreciate every single dollar that comes into us. And most importantly, Doctors Without Borders appreciates all of those donations. Now, this donation has my favorite idea ever. And see if I can do this. It's $200 from Silly Sheba 59. It says, if everyone watching from home yells hype loud enough, we can find out how many of our neighbors are watching this dope speed run. Once again, this is the Summer Games Done Quick 2020 event benefiting Doctors Without Borders. And again, this is being done online thanks to the wonderful situation we're all in right now. But it is no less hype. In fact, it is potentially more hype. Especially because it is benefiting something that will actually help the current situation. Got that $5 donation train going, trying to get us to that Resident Evil 3 run. Looks like we're about $19,000 roughly toward the $80,000 goal for that, so hopefully we can get ourselves there. I haven't actually checked when that is meant to happen. It's this evening, so got about 12 hours time to get that together. Hopefully, and we can see that RE3 run. I mean, that sounds like a lot of time, but we do still need to make sure that we get that donation met.